Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Right now, time is 8:59, going on 9 o'clock for the 9 o'clock live stream, Saturday night live stream here at Red Pill 78. Tonight we have a very, very special guest in the house. We are going to be joined by none other than journalist and investigative reporter and investigator Matt Couch. Matt Couch is here with us in the building, joining us all the way from his undisclosed location in the home of the Clintons, the best place you could possibly be if you are investigating corruption, I would imagine. I hope that everyone in the audience is having a good time. I see we got lots of people in the chat, people from San Diego, Florida, Ohio, Georgia, Australia, Atlanta. We will be right back, guys, after this brief word from my sponsor. A unanimous act of Congress has sparked a $270 billion windfall across America. Have you guys requested your $1,818 check yet? Well, a new law from Congress has created this windfall. It's a lot like Social Security, but you don't have to be retired. And you can grab up to 24 of these a year. It's all part of a brand new income program, and it's explained in detail in a video at www.superpowerchecks.com. All you gotta do is sign up for the distribution list, and they show up in your mail without lifting a finger. Thousands of Americans are celebrating these paydays, and now you can too. Just go to www.superpowerchecks.com, watch the educational video. It's completely free. Remember, the information is free, and by supporting my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys. Excellent. Thank you for sticking around through that. And here we are, joined live in the studio with my good friend Matt Couch. Matt, how are you tonight, bud?
Hey, great to be here, and thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. I am extremely excited for you to be here tonight. We've got so many things that we're going to be talking about. Not least of all is the Seth Rich investigation, because you and your team have just done a phenomenal job with getting that information together. The things that you guys have discovered, it's nothing short of phenomenal. Now, before we get into that, before we get into the Seth Rich talk, I really would like to talk about Matt Couch and the things that got you here. You know, I mean, I know that you were a former newsman yourself before, you know, getting into investigative reporting and and private investigations, as it were now. But yeah, you know, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience, people here who don't know about you as well as the others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started off literally, on Sirius XM way back in the day, covering mixed martial arts and pro wrestling. You can see a lot of memorabilia over my shoulder here that the liberal trolls, when I do a live broadcast, love to attack. But I met a lot of great people in my time, in those industries of mixed martial arts and pro wrestling, and then transferred over to ESPN Radio, where I covered the Arkansas Razorbacks and the SEC. Have always been a staunch conservative, very involved in politics. And when in 2015, when President Trump announced that he was going to run, one of my private investigators now, Bill Pierce, we've been friends for a long time. He's been a PI for 26 years. We got involved in the campaign and helping on the ground in key states. And then we literally discovered a video a few months after the murder of Seth Rich by a gentleman named Julian Assange. And that's kind of how this transpired. We basically knew the track record of WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, and that there literally had been, nothing that's ever proven this group wrong ever in anything that they put out journalistically. So we started digging in, and Bill has been a licensed PI for 26 plus years. And as we started digging in and putting out information, of course, we started getting attacked by the people on the left. And we picked up some steam, though. We started gathering people like Hannibal Moot and Larry Beach and Frank Whalen, the head of NYPD homicide for 23 years. And Jason, who I won't mention, who's a Metropolitan SWAT commander on our team, and Josh Flippo, who, 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, 12 years, half of those 12 years in the desert. Really well-versed team of military, LEOs, private investigators, and former and current federal agents that are on this team. And we just basically people would reach out and be like, Matt, how can I help? I mean, I like what you're doing. And we kind of forged in the last 2.5 years, we forged a little brotherhood, and we're working on, Seth Rich is the case we're mainly known for, but, we've spent extensive time with Laura Loomer in Las Vegas on that investigation. And we've spent a lot of time working on Fast and Furious things. Too Wide on our team. We'll let's call him Too Wide. Well, that's the easiest way to say it. We don't want to dox him, but he's been working on the Fast and Furious stuff for a long time with whistleblower and retired Marine Colonel Matt Meck. So we're in a little bit of everything. The people on the left really hate me. They hate everything that we do. But it's cost me a lot, as you know, you and I talk. Yep. I've lost jobs, I've lost a marriage, I've lost a lot of things because I've spent the last 2+ years of my life doing this. And but it's the right thing to do. And I don't think that we're going to be judged by what we do in life. Down the road, nothing that we that you think about. The PC culture that we live in. I don't want to be that person that was like, oh well, I could have said something, could have done something, but it doesn't really affect me. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me personally. And this entire republic is at stake in so many ways that people don't even understand. And that's why we're in the fight. Exactly.
And, and I commend you on all the work you guys have done and the things that you've given up. I fully understand exactly what you've gone through. And it's not only the things that you've given up, but, and the people on the left that, cry out against you, but there's a fair amount of people on our own team who have, something to say. A lot of people in this movement, especially just because of how much the Democrats and their ilk have destroyed America and how many things have, taken place, all the crimes that we've had to witness all of these years, people get a bit antsy, shall we say. People want to see results. People want to see proof. And one of the things that I think they don't understand is that concept of ongoing investigations. You've only got so much you can say about a particular subject.
No, that's spot on. And we say this a lot too when people ask us, what's happening, what's going on, why aren't we seeing results? People have to understand we don't have subpoena power. I don't have the ability to call up Bill Barr and say, hey, Bill, man, can you issue a few subpoenas for me?
Yep.
There's a whole process that goes into this. And then even if you have a smoking gun, you still have to have someone on our side, on the right, conservative, whatever you want to call them, that has the courage to actually take it up. You could literally, a lot of these cases, you could have a smoking gun, but they're like, well, I'm going to get, crucified politically. So I appreciate your work, guys, but, I can't touch this. And we hear that a lot.
It's so sad. I want to kind of go through a timeline of the Seth Rich case, the things that you guys have brought up. Because, as I said at the beginning, you guys have really been the only investigative team that I have seen consistently pounding out and bringing new things to the surface and keeping this alive and fresh in people's minds. I think the first time I ever saw you tweeting on Twitter, you were belting out the his name was Seth Rich hashtag. That was very early on. I've been aware of the Seth Rich case and the investigation for a long time. I was right there with you, probably, watching the WikiLeaks come out and, just seeing all these revelations. But you had said that, was it when Julian Assange gave that interview and kind of hinted at the fact that maybe Seth Rich was the leaker that it really came into your purview?
That's when we really discovered it. Now, there was a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters that were very well aware around the Democratic convention of Seth Rich's murder. And then, of course, also Sean Lucas, who was also a Bernie supporter, who was the process server hired by Jared Beck.
Yep.
Who, and that's a story. I can't tell you how we know it, but I'll tell you the information we know about Sean Lucas real quick. It goes into this, but
please.
A lot of people, you'll just hear, that he overdosed. That's the key. Sean, I'll just give you a little background. Sean was vegan. He was very healthy, very prominent in the DC scene. He was a DJ. But on top of that, they called it a fentanyl overdose. He was found face down in his bathroom, missing a front tooth with a huge gash on his forehead and no blood anywhere.
Oh, first time I've ever heard that information.
And so, and that's from someone who was there. I'll put it to you that way, when the body was discovered. And so, you look at that fact right there, and then you look at all the things that are blocked in the Seth Rich case. Guess who else has a autopsy and toxicology that the DC chief medical examiner and their police won't release? I
imagine Sean Lucas.
You would be correct, sir. Yeah. You would be correct. We should go to Vegas. And but it's unbelievable to me how this transpired. But yeah, I'll turn it back over to you. But that's just that we knew what was going on a little bit with those two. And
Yep.
then when Assange came out, I think it was probably a month or so after when we saw the Assange video,
Yep.
Bill and I were sitting in my office, and we looked at it and we were like, man, we got to look into this. This something's not right here.
Yep.
And then we just kind of started peeling back layers.
And your success in this case has been due, in not only to your experience as a media personality, so you know how to get information out there, you know how to push it. You've got a lot of followers. I've got your Twitter profile up right now. You've got 198,000 followers. I don't remember how many you had when I first started following you, but I'd imagine you've gained quite a bit in the last several years. And then and then you linked up with Bill and these other buddies of yours who are private investigators. And since meeting them, you're also a private investigator now, correct?
I'm an apprentice. Yeah,
You're
I'm
an
an apprentice, and
okay.
I'm learning under Bill Pierce, who's been a PI for 26 years, and
Yep.
so I mean, I'm hoping to get licensed soon myself. That's the goal, and to continue, to take on more cases as we can, and Bill is a phenomenal investigator. So is Frank. Frank's a PI, was head of NYPD homicide for over 2 decades, and so got a lot of great guys that I can learn from. And
Exactly.
if we get a source that somebody that reaches out, I love to have Bill or Frank on the phone with me because I can learn so much from that vast experience, on how they've been in interrogation rooms and things of that nature, and how they talk and address people. And when a lot of people have questioned the legitimacy of what we do, but you can't put that kind of experience. 26 years as a PI, 23 years the head of NYPD homicide. I mean,
yeah,
these guys have crazy experience that most people in the country don't even have, and so I'm just blessed to be there with those guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean the combined experience of all of the people on your team is it's staggering. I mean I would challenge most investigative groups to put their collective experience up against the guys that you all work with. And, that's another thing that I think that people don't understand. They see internet researcher and they think guy in front of his computer, and that's me, I guess, because I've just been researching stuff on my own. I don't have any, legal training. I haven't any investigative training per se, but, I have a skeptical eye, and whereas you guys are different is you actually have all of that real life on the ground and law enforcement experience behind the stuff that you're doing. So what was the first big revelation that came out with your team about the Seth Rich case?
The first thing that I think we were the first ones that really started pounding this. I mean, some people picked up on it, but nobody, people are so scared, to touch this case. It was in April of 2017. I guess 8 months, maybe somewhere in that range, after his death.
Yep.
And Andrew Therault, who was the data science director, who was Seth's mentor.
Yep.
He also was Seth's boss at the polling firm that he worked at for 2 years before going to the DNC.
Mm-hmm.
In April, he put out a tweet, and it said, "What do you call a herd of pandas?"
Yes.
An embarrassment. And then he tagged Seth Rich's Twitter handle, his deceased colleague's Twitter handle.
Very strange.
And so, we've got 2 takes on that. We still don't have any answers on that. We may subpoena and, Andrew, we'll see what happens in these lawsuits. But, think about that. So he's either that's very morbid. He cared about, either it's morbid, he cared about Seth, or he's trying to send a message. I mean, I don't really know what his motives were, but that was kind of the first real thing that we really uncovered and started pounding out there. We were like, well, wait a minute, why would this guy do this? Why would he put this information out? And so we went with that. That was in April of 2017. In May, we started doing some really, really people were reaching out at that point. We were starting to get some feelers out there. May, of course, is when Rod Wheeler, the private investigator hired by the family, paid for by Ed Batowski, started doing some, those two have their beef, but that's between Rod and Ed. I don't have anything to say about that. But they Rod did a great job. I think Rod's a good guy. I think he did a good job as an investigator. But he uncovered some things, and he started turning. And if you think about it, that's when Sean Hannity covered it. Tucker said a little bit about it,
right?
And the next thing you know, poof, Fox News is done. And what we were told, I might as well say this. It's all going to come out in the lawsuits anyway.
Excellent.
What we were told. Now, this is hearsay. Want to make that very clear to everyone,
Sure.
but I think it's very, very likely it probably is true that the reason why Sean Hannity backed off of the Seth Rich investigation is because one of the Murdoch daughters, wives, whatever you want to call it, who sits on the board of the Clinton Foundation, told him to stop his work on it.
Wow. Directly.
That's what we have heard through the grapevine from several pretty solid people on the Sean Hannity and why he stopped investigating it. But if you look at it, they've tried to silence anyone who's ever done that.
They have. On that note, I mean, Rod himself, had to. I mean, he stopped speaking about it, and he kind of backtracked in some really strange ways. I mean, it was almost like he was trying to negate what he said previously while at the same time reinforcing it, doing it in such a manner so that I thought it was obvious that he was trying to show us that he was being forced to say that he was no longer supporting his former statements. Can you speculate on that at all?
I can speculate that you're probably 100% accurate. I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there that okay. I think, I don't have any proof of that, but I'm gonna say you're probably very, very accurate on that.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, Rod Wheeler is definitely somebody I would love to have on the program, but I get the feeling that it's not something that he's going to be able to speak about until we get some firmer resolution on what happened.
He's got a gag order. Yeah, he's got a gag order from the family. Yeah, so I mean, that's why he has not been speaking on this case in quite some time.
Now, was he was initially in a friendly position with the family, was he not?
Correct. He had a contract with the family where he was not supposed to speak to the media about the case. Mm. And so, all this is going to come out. So, I mean, my guys are texting me and they're like, "Hey, man, give him something new." I'm like, "All right."
Thanks.
So I'm like, "All right, I guess we can do that." So I will tell you this much because, I mean, hell, I'm already being sued into the Stone Age anyway, right? So I might as well just, roll with the punches. I'm not going to say a name, but your audience and you can probably figure out who I'm referring to.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say the name. I'm going to play that political part here. But one thing that I know from from our investigations and conversations is that everybody that you talk to involved in this case has been told by the same person to not talk about the case. They've been told to not talk about the emails, don't talk about the phones, don't talk about the phone calls, don't talk about the party. It is one person who has told almost everyone who has been interviewed in this case by us, by Rod Wheeler, by others, that one person has told them to not speak. Don't mention the emails, don't mention WikiLeaks. I don't care about that. I want to find out if it was a botched robbery. And that's what's been said, over and over and over again by this one person. Mm-hmm. He may or may not be suing me. So, and it's one of those things where you just have to ask yourself, why? Why are you telling people to not talk?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's real alarming to me.
I mean, my thoughts on that, if it's the person that I'm thinking it is, somebody with a familial connection, shall we say, to the decedent, might be to protect himself in light of what happened to this other, the person that's dead. It's a tragic loss. The family has already lost one person, but I personally think it's the wrong direction to go. I mean, I would imagine that considering the current climate here in the United States and what we're moving towards, with arrests and these, over 100,000 sealed indictments, and every day we getting, charges being brought up and people being arrested, and more cases are going to come to light. There is safety in the limelight, I mean, go to the DOJ. And this is my opinion. Go to the DOJ. Admit exactly what happened. Admit that there was an arrangement. And then, put yourself into a position where you can testify, and then at the same time, solve your brother's murder. Yeah,
I would agree with you. Yeah. I mean, and I think many people across the country, a lot of people that are investigating this would step right in line and agree with those sentiments.
Yeah. So let's so continuing on. What other things have you specifically, you and your team, brought up? I know that you were instrumental in figuring out the last steps of Seth, the route he took and the people that he interacted with.
Right. No, absolutely. We found that out, later down the road. And I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just walk you through a quick timeline.
You go for it. Yeah.
Of how we uncovered things. In June, like I said, it's going to be mentioned in the lawsuit anyway. This person probably won't like it that I'm telling you this, but in June of 2017, about a month before the 1 year anniversary of his murder, I was contacted by Jonathan Rich, the first cousin of Seth Rich. Jonathan explained to me that his dad, who is Seth's father's brother, Joel Rich, had told him that Seth and his girlfriend Kelsey were broken up at the time of the murder. And Jonathan thought that was very odd that she was at all of the press conferences, going past that point. They weren't an item at the time of the murder, but yet there she was at every press conference at behind the podium. And she was on Crime Watch TV with Chris Hansen. And so we broke that information. That came from a family member.
Right.
And then it just got really fast there in 2017. We went out to DC to investigate for about 10 days with our team in 2017 in July and we're there for the vigil. And we spoke to the chief medical examiner of Washington, D.C. To this day, no one else has ever gotten anything on record from them in regards to the murder of Seth Rich. Bill Pierce, one of our PIs, we spoke to him on the phone for about 30 minutes. He's a pastor at a church in D.C. We even went to his church to try to track him down there. For those trolls out there, that's what investigative work looks like. You actually get on the ground and go try to find these people. And so he actually spoke to us for about 30 minutes, was very brief. I can't talk about that, man. I just can't say anything, man. They're just real tight-lipped on this case. That's all we heard. I can't say a whole lot. And then he said, email my office and I'll have my assistant send you guys an email on what we can. We received the email. I should have sent this to you, and I'll send it to you at some point. I meant to send you some files, but we literally got the response. And all it says was Seth Rich, homicide, gunshot wounds to torso.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, gosh.
That is it. And that came from the chief medical examiner in DC.
Wow.
And so, at least we were able to talk to him. No one else would even talk.
That's incredible.
Now, torso and your back, it would, if you were shot in the back like everyone claimed, the medical examiner would not word it torso. That's two entirely different regions.
Right. That indicates he was shot from the front.
Front or side, absolutely, not the back. And so, which makes you wonder, where that's actually coming from as well. Maybe it was probably to paint their narrative of the botched robbery. I'm not really sure, but so we uncovered that. At the same time, we uncovered the hospital that he went to. Everyone had speculated on what hospital he had went to. And we broke that he went to MedStar Hospital. We even broke the ambulance that he rode in. It was ambulance number 17, DCF.
Number 17.
Yeah, ambulance number 17, engine number 6 is what they rolled up to authority-wise. Went to MedStar Hospital, arrived at, unfortunately, this is ingrained in my head, for I've done this so long.
Right.
He arrived at the hospital at 4:33 a.m., pronounced dead at 5:57 a.m. on the operating table by Dr. Christine Trankium, a trauma surgeon who also operated on Congressman Steve Scalise when he was near fatally wounded.
That's right. Now, just before you go on, does the information that you were able to corroborate there with regards to the time of death and the amount of time they spent working on him, does that conflict at all with the public information that was released about his death? I mean, I could have sworn that they said that he was DOA, or at least that it was a very short time from being admitted to him passing.
It's a pretty short time. He was shot at 4:19 a.m.
Yeah.
According to for what we uncovered, 4:33 a.m. was when he arrived. So that's, 4:33 a.m. is when the ambulance arrived. You have to think too, when you're talking about and I've learned this from all my guys that are LEOs, when you're talking about a murder scene or a shooting, the ambulance, the EMT guys they're not armed. They're not going to roll in.
No.
Well, they're going to clear the area, make sure that the shooter's not near. The interesting thing, we'll talk about this too in a minute, is there was no BOLO issued, which is unbelievably never heard of.
It's unprofessional.
If you don't issue a BOLO, yeah, especially in a shooting. And I'll read something to your audience here in a minute. I'll pull it up and read you an interview too. But so if you look at it, 4:19, they arrived at 4:33 at the hospital. I don't know what the hell took so long to get to MedStar from 5 to But I mean, I don't know what they were dealing with in the ambulance. This is what the log shows. It doesn't really, but
one more question. That
yeah.
419, is that when he was actually shot, or is that when the paramedics arrived to pick him up, or is that when the... Okay, that was when he was actually shot.
Yeah.
And did he call 911, or did someone else call 911?
No, in Washington, D.C., a couple of cities, major cities have them. San Francisco is one. They have a program called CIC Shot Spotter.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
It sits on skyscrapers.
Yep.
And it can triangulate, the GPS of where gunshots are fired.
Okay.
And it sends the police to where that gun was fired. It on a radar, and they pounce on that area when a gun is fired.
Okay. Okay. All right. And then, just one thing from the audience, my friend Celia, who is a doctor, she says that if he was shot in the back, she said that the doctor or the medical examiner might still just say torso.
Hey, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yeah, so thank you for that, Celia. Appreciate the information. Okay, continue, Matt.
No, that's good to know. And so we also know there's articles that were put out by the Washington Post and others, other major liberal outlets that, and he even Joel Rich has even said this on video, and I think it was Daily Mail, I believe, that maybe did this little interview with him, but that he was in emergency surgery.
Yeah. So
the father's even said on several occasions in interviews that he was in emergency surgery. So we do know that he was in surgery. There is a thing that came out, that it came out on Reddit or something about a resident that was there and said that they cleared out the hospital and claimed he was VIP and all that.
I remember that.
I will go ahead and dispute that with our team.
Okay.
We literally tracked down every resident at MedStar, and none of them matched up with that story.
Okay.
So we have debunked that, at least in our mind. There's no one that fits that description that would have been on duty. It's just not that they weren't there. If they were at MedStar, they don't exist. So we worked really hard because we try to be very black and white. If we can't prove it, we try not to say it unless we feel like the source is very vilified, so to speak.
Right. All right. And so from that point then.
Yeah. From that point, we know now that Donna Brazil and Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser were at the hospital within minutes of Seth's arrival. Our source is ironclad on that, I believe, and
it was a firsthand eyewitness.
Yes, yeah, okay. That's what we understand, and and they haven't taken us to task on that by any means. We would love to get their phone records. I'd love to have Donna Brazil and Mayor Bowser's phone records on that night. I don't think that they're complicit in this at all. That's not what I'm saying, but I would love to know who notified them. I think that's a real key in this case.
Yeah.
Now, why would the co-chair of the DNC and the mayor of DC be there for a, quote, staffer, as the mainstream media called Seth? So we uncovered that down the road as well. And we just kept going. It just kept steamrolling. We found out who the police witness was. Her name was Kristen Olin. She claimed that she saw two black men running through the park, about 4:30 a.m. She was out walking her dog. I'll let you know, LaDroit Park is literally the projects. It's maybe a block or two from where he was shot. Now this Kristen Olin, this I don't think I've ever said a whole lot about this publicly. It's pretty amazing. But if you believe she's really the police witness, she worked for a little company called Leidos. If that rings a bell to any of you or not, Leidos is a CIA contractor.
Ah, okay.
Leidos is a spook channel, and so she worked for Leidos, which was CIA. Mm-hmm. She also just happens to be a pilot and a vet tech, all at the same time. It's amazing, right? Oh, and a pro MMA fighter. So just put all that together. What the hell? She was just out walking her dogs.
Wow.
I mean, more coincidence. I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Keep that in mind. And,
excellent.
And so, we attempted to speak to her multiple times. We left, business cards at her addresses, and we could not get a response whatsoever. We tried to reach out to her and talk to her about that situation.
Okay.
Now my thing is, if you witnessed a murder, why? And I just don't understand. I mean, obviously she didn't witness a murder, but I think it was, the information was interesting to see why she would have been put down as that government witness.
Do you think it is a strange coincidence that she would happen to be walking her dog in that particular park at 4:30 in the morning, based upon her socioeconomic status and the type of neighborhood that it was?
I would say it would be a little sketch to be out walking your dog at 4:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, she worked for the CIA and was a pro MMA fighter. She may have not been as scared as some folks. That's the only thing I can think of. But that's never been out there. They also, Bill Pierce on our team, Bill put out, the conflicting police reports. And I'm going to pull that up for you too in one of my files here, and I'll get that up.
When you get that pulled up, if you go down to the bottom of your screen and click share, and then it'll pop up and it'll show your screen. You can select your screen, and then you can show the audience as well.
Oh, very nice. All right, so that way I'll try to make sure whatever I put on the screen is PG then, right?
That's right.
Okay, all right, we'll make sure we get that right. So I mean, and we just kept uncovering things. It got worse and worse and worse. And what I'm going to pull up right now is there were 2 police reports.
Okay.
2 public narratives. Now, why would they change? It's unheard of to have 2 public police reports.
It is very strange.
And Bill uncovered that as well.
While you're pulling that up, I'm just going to go through a couple of thank yous to the audience. Jeff Stewart, thank you so much for that super chat. Glad that you're here from the Great Lakes Bay region of Michigan. Andrew Belcher, thank you. Jen Blossom, thank you. Margaret Bertram, she said, love your work, Red Pill, my first ever super chat. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Lynn Little says, love your show. Thanks again, Margaret. V, thank you for that. Paul Marshall, thank you, Red Pill, glory to God. Always on high. Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate that. Again, Margaret, thank you so much. Jen Fair, 2 of my favorite Patriots. Keep up the great work, Matt and Red Pill. Thank you so much, Jen. Hates kale. Hates kale. Not many people like kale. Many Congress seat openings coming. Red and or Matt, are you up for it? Thank you both for what you do. I know that I'm not going to run for Congress. I need to wait until the swamp is completely drained if I ever think about getting into politics again. Truth Not Fiction Matters.
There are so many people that would love to kill me in D.C. That's probably a terrible idea.
Yeah. I think that, you would need round-the-clock Blackwater security. Our mutual friend Matthew from Truth Not Fiction Matters says, America First Media, Matt Couch, and team risks all and never quits on Seth Rich. That's right. James Shea says, thank you, M. Couch and Red Pill, for your thing that you do. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you as so much, James. And then Dana Finkler, my brother from another mother, where we bark one, we bark all, from Muffin Country. Glad to see you here. Oh, looks like Space Shot 76 is in the audience as well. Lots of familiar faces in the audience tonight, guys. Glad you guys are here. We've got almost 3,000 people watching right now, Matt. So I think this is an excellent time to ask everyone, please, if you have not already, like and share this broadcast. Help us break through that algorithm. Matt has got a lot of really good information that we're going to be putting out here tonight, stuff that no one has ever heard publicly before. Also, my other doctor friend, Dr. B, says, the reason Donna Brazil and the mayor were there together at the hospital that night, according to my friend's connections with the DC lesbian scene, is because they are lovers. I am not surprised, but that is the first time I've heard that speculated on as well. Interesting.
I'm not going to touch that one. I don't need suit again.
And just for clarification, and if Donna Brazil or Muriel Bowser happen to be watching this broadcast, we are just reading a comment from an anonymous individual in my chat. I am not going to touch it either. All right. So while you're looking for those police reports, let's talk about them before they get on the screen. So we've got 2 different police reports. When was the initial police report released? How quickly did that come out?
The initial police report was out, within hours.
Okay.
I believe it was around 9, maybe 8 a.m., 9 a.m. if I remember correctly.
Okay, so very quickly.
It was real. The original was out very, very fast.
Yep. And then the revised police report, when they put that out, did they retract the original one, or did they draw any attention to whatever it was that was in conflict between the two, or did they just pretend like the first police report didn't exist?
Well, they basically, and I don't know if I did that right or not. Can you see what I've got pulled up or not?
Not yet. I can't see the. I can only see it just says Matt Couch has started screen sharing. There we go. Ah.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did, but it's showing my face on the screen. There we go. Okay. All right. Go ahead. You're good.
All right. There we go. So we've got basically, Bill Pierce, one of our PIs, wrote this.
Okay.
And the way it works is, he did a lot of digging on this. And I'm gonna scroll down. Hopefully everybody can see this at home.
Yeah, it's full screen, so.
Okay, good. And I apologize for the ads on our website here, but
not a problem.
There are two different public narrative police reports relating to the death of Seth Rich, which were present on the Washington, D.C. Police Department system. Bill says, let me first state that from years of investigative experience and working with or consulting with police departments from around the country, this is not how it's done. Should an officer obtain supplemental information during any investigation, a supplemental report and amendment is added to the original. You would never generate completely different narrative reports with its own unique number for the exact same event. I'm going to scroll down here. I don't know if Bill put examples in or not.
Here we go.
The first public narrative shows that the general public would obtain after submitting a FOIA to the DC police. It is fairly basic in the information it contains, and initially there is nothing out of the ordinary within this particular report. Note the date and time of the report, July 10th, 2016, 7:10 a.m. And Officer Jody O'Leary is shown as the responding officer. The report number, and he gives it 16113797. Now, then you go to the second public narrative, shows something slightly different and now appears to include a, quote, Hispanic narrative. Note the date and time of the report, July 10th, 2016, 7:19 a.m. This particular report was obviously written 9 minutes after the first report. The report number is the narrative of 16113799. In this case, Officer Derek Tarr is shown as the responding officer. So it's very interesting, that there are two narratives. And we believe in our investigations, and we do have, or did, I should say, I don't want to, once again, I'm trying not to dox people, but we definitely had sources within DC Metro Police. And I believe that the reason why they had switched it to the Hispanic was to try to sell the MS-13 narrative. I think that was the entire goal from the get-go, was to try to pin this on MS-13.
That, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Okay, throw the track off.
Right. And so, from our sources, and some of you have heard Luke Anon and others, and everything that we've investigated being on the ground multiple times, we do not believe that MS-13 is involved, and as many people say, disinformation is necessary. And so that's our theory on this, of why that was put out there, was to try to spin that MS-13 narrative on this murder. And then groups like us came along and really just kind of threw the whole thing away. I don't know if there's any more. Yeah, here you go. You guys can actually see the police reports here.
There we are. All right. And so what is different between the two police reports? We have a different responding officer. Do we have a different time? Any different times?
Yes, 9-minute difference, 7:10 and 7:19. So
okay.
A 9-minute differential in the two times. Now here, I want to point to something. Can you guys see my little?
Yep.
I'm the newbie here, so Red Pill's the expert. So I'm learning. So if you see this right here, Robert Wingate Robinson, body-worn camera. Derek Tarr, other officers at scene. Shea Ellis, officer at scene. Benjamin Velez, body-worn camera. Mark Lee, body-worn camera.
That's why.
Yeah, isn't that strange, folks, that they now cannot find the body cams in this investigation?
Oh, Officer Tarr didn't have a body cam on. That's why we don't have it.
It's so strange. And so that's the first one there. And here comes the second one. There's somebody in DC punching a baby right now that I'm showing you guys some of this. But so here's the second one that came in. Derek Tarr, who was a sergeant, wrote the second one up. Yeah. Now, once again, you're going to notice this here. Body-worn camera. Benjamin Velez, body-worn camera. Mark Lee, body-worn camera. Oh, and look, Jody O'Leary, who wrote the first report. What did he also have? He was supposed to be the first one on the scene on the one that came out at 7:10. Yep. He also had a body-worn camera.
And I would imagine that in your respective investigations on this, the DC Police Department have you actually submitted FOIAs to them to try to get this body cam footage?
Oh yes, they they're I don't know what they're doing with them. I'm assuming wiping with them and then flushing them.
Bleach bit.
Yeah. I mean, basically every person. I mean, I believe Judicial Watch tried to get information in the onset of this a couple years ago. Rod Wheeler has put out FOIAs. Our team has put out FOIAs. Everything is blocked. Liz Lyons, the privacy officer for Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. And let me give you her background before I tell you what she said. She claims that okay, let me give you a background. She was in the FBI, and she was with the Department of Homeland Security before the FBI. But she just happened to take a position that's technically a demotion to be the privacy officer for Washington, D.C. police. Interesting, right? And that happened, just shortly before the murder. I know that's strange for everyone at home, but
yeah.
And so then what she has said is that the body cams were either misplaced or they were deemed not relevant.
Not relevant at the scene of a murder.
Not relevant. Isn't that strange?
Very, very strange. Very strange.
And so now here's their own general mandate. Their own Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police general mandate states that when murder is involved, body cams have to be kept for 65 years. Interesting, right? I mean, I'm sure it's just another coincidence. And then I want to show you one more thing, if I can. Hopefully nobody's getting seasick at home. I'm going to go back out. My computer is extremely slow, so hopefully it'll get a little bit better here.
While you're looking for that, Matt, I'm just going to do a couple more thank yous. Wheezy Girl said, great interview. Thanks. Thank you for that. Kimberly Bogan. Hey, how you doing, Kim? Thanks, guys, for all you do. Team Bogan loves Red Pill 78. Chris Bryant says, God bless America. Nuanon, thank you very much for that generous super chat as well. And Chris Bryant again said, the Constitution is the lifeblood of the American patriot. Liberty is her child, and she is your birthright. Defend her with your last breath. Excellent. Thank you all for those super chats. Appreciate that. Now, I just want to make sure the audience knows here, Matt, that we are on your team's website, the dcpatriot.com. Is that correct?
You are correct, sir. That is our website. That and I'm also told that it is the most favorite and most looked at website by the DNC as well. So
I don't doubt it.
I can't prove that. That's just what everyone tells me on the streets.
Well, make sure that your webmaster installs Google Analytics, and you can probably break it down.
Oh yeah, we definitely have that for sure. I love it when somebody's like, "Oh, I've never seen your website." I'm like, I determined that's a lie, but okay. Those IP pingbacks work. It's weird how that works. So this is something that's very, very interesting, and this is going to come out in the lawsuit. So I'm going to be breaking some things. My team has told me to give you some stuff that we've never talked about before. So
beautiful.
Hopefully people are tuning in and sharing this broadcast, because this is going to be something I have never, it says redacted. You see police line, do not cross. Let's scroll down just a little bit. Okay.
Alrighty.
This is an interview that was done with Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Homicide Detective Joseph Della Camera, the lead homicide detective on the Seth Rich investigation.
Excellent.
The interview was conducted by none other than Rod Wheeler.
Ooh, okay.
In Rod's office. Now, we've put this out as redacted. I've never said who the redacted names are until now.
Excellent.
So you're going to I'm going to read this if you don't mind, because to me it says everything in this case for those that try to claim that this is a, quote, conspiracy. So first off, redacted says, this is, I'll just tell you who it is. I guess Rod Wheeler says that, Joseph Della Camera says that police investigators have exhausted their search for any additional video surveillance footage that may be out there. Indicated that he has checked with several persons who may have had video footage along the route in which Seth walked the night of the incident, but to date he has been unable to find any additional video. Also states that he checked the local McDonald's restaurant in the area as well as other surrounding businesses, but has been unable to find any additional video anywhere. So I'm assuming McDonald's just flushed the video down the toilet. I mean, it somehow all of these videos just disappeared.
Now, and let's be clear too. I would imagine that DC probably has a fair amount of security cameras, like on light poles and in the vicinity of where Seth Rich was actually murdered. Is that right?
I would say it's by far and away the most guarded city in the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. And then lastly, with regards to video, redacted states that there was some video surveillance footage that came from a small convenience store on Flagler Street. That's called the Flagler Market. We've been there a few times.
Okay.
Rod Wheeler, or not Wheeler, I'm going to get this mixed up. The detective, Della Camera, states that the video quality is extremely bad, and there is nothing on the video that anyone could see that could assist with the investigation. Now, here's the interesting point. Seth Rich's father, Joel Rich, in an interview with the Washington Post on this same video says that police detectives told him about a video that shows two pairs of legs and his son collapsing, possibly the legs of the killers.
Yes.
But yet the police have never shown that video to the family. They've never shown that video to the media. And when asked about it, the police spokesperson tells America First Media and our team at the DC Patriot that if the video did exist, they couldn't share it with us because it could compromise an ongoing investigation.
Wow.
So these are facts. I mean, this was in the Washington Post. They told the Post the same thing, that they couldn't, literally, it was the old school, mobster thing. I can't, I can't say one way or the other. I can't, deny it. And it's unbelievable.
Now, another question that I had was the same night that Seth Rich was killed, or if I'm mistaken, maybe it was very soon before the murder. There was a gun that was stolen from, was it an FBI agent?
FBI vehicle, yes.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an FBI agent who had his. They have a lockbox in FBI cruisers, and he had there's a 40 cal. There's several different weapons in there, even a radio, which would have allowed him to communicate with other law enforcement FBI people, whoever stole it. The interesting thing about this, and we've been digging into this, but when you deal with the feds, it's a whole other level of trying to get information. But the interesting thing about that lockbox and the gun, one of the weapons stolen was a 22. The other interesting thing about that is the FBI cruiser. Would you like to know where it was parked at?
Please.
It was parked at the polling firm that Seth used to work at before the DNC.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
I mean, I'm sure it's just coincidental.
It's
just coincidental. And so, we've looked into that, and that's something that's an ongoing investigation with our team. It's literally like pulling teeth to try to get information on that. They have done all they can to try to cover it up. I know they put the agent on leave after it was stolen. I don't know where that stands at this point. But it's just absolutely preposterous is the nicest way I can say it.
Yeah. Now, were any ballistics ever done on the bullets that Seth was shot with, and to match them up with that gun that was stolen from that FBI cruiser?
That's the kicker there. And when you look at the 22 caliber weapon, I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but the assassin's choice weapon is a 22. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Because it bounces around inside. It tears up organs. It bounces off of things. And that's why this is so pivotal. The other thing on why it is interesting on why they won't release the ballistics report or the caliber of weapon in this investigation, they continue to block FOIAs on the Seth Rich murder, is because, I don't know if you know, I've never said this really publicly either. FBI weapons, whether it's FBI, whether it's DEA, whether it's CIA, which they're not supposed to be issued weapons, but you know where I'm going with this.
Right.
They're investigation gatherers, if you believe that. But they have special markings on the ammunition themselves. So, and that's because if they ever get into a firefight, they want to know who shot who. So if a federal agent's weapon was fired, whether it's DEA, whether it's Department of Energy, whether it's FBI, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would trace back to that agency and that weapon.
Right.
Which is very interesting on why they have not released the ballistics report. And I think that's a lot to do with it, to be honest with you. I think that's why it's been blocked the entire time. Right.
Because it'll point to that specific thing if it is a federal bullet.
No, absolutely. And I've learned that from my team, they have markings, they're issued, and they have different markings on the ammunition when they're issued to the agents. Now here's the interesting thing. And of course the detective does say what I just told you about the Washington Post and what the father of Seth said. States on the video, you can see the bottom half of two individuals walking across the street on Flagler Street. And then moments later, you see Seth Rich fall into the video view in the crosswalk on the street in front of the convenience store. Also said he has a witness that observed two people, which I think I just talked about, running into the immediate area the night of the incident. However, they did not see the actual shooting incident. Voluntarily stated that the whole, quote, conspiracy story really threw things off with the investigation. Now, this is the interesting part. This is the detective on the case.
Yep.
I'll highlight out. If it works, tell me. If I screwed up, tell me. Can you see that?
Yep, I see it. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Tell me this doesn't say a lot. Now, this is from the homicide detective that is over the Seth Rich investigation. He heard that Seth was an email leaker. However, he states, I've got nothing to say or to show that the shooting was related to emails or anything other than a street robbery. So the homicide detective over the Seth Rich murder literally states in an interview that he did, or I don't know if he knew he was being recorded or not, but in an interview with Rod Wheeler, that he heard Seth was the email leaker.
Wow.
They're literally admitting to it.
Very telling.
And, then basically, there's just so much in this, and I'll send you the link so you can check it all out. But when asked specifically, was there any information located on any of Seth's computers that would indicate that he did in fact send emails to WikiLeaks, Detective Della Camera replied, there is certain information that I can't provide regarding the case itself. And I hope you understand, like I said, I can't reveal detailed information about the case itself.
But when he was asked other direct questions, he was happy to answer them.
I mean, and so for anyone that's calling this a conspiracy theory, keep in mind what I'm reading you is out of the mouth. Gotta love the spyware. Sorry, guys. It is out of the mouth of the guy that was the head detective on the case.
Yep.
He says, I have strict rules by my bosses because of what this case is. That says don't provide information out other than what is already publicly out there. I just can't go into detail with what I know. At this time, Della Camera was asked, is it a possibility that emails were found on Seth's computer related to the DNC, and this could be motivation for his being killed? The detective replied with, anything's possible. I can't say one way or the other. And then it goes back. He was asked, was the FBI involved at all in the case? He replied, I don't know. I mean, I never was contacted by the FBI at all. As far as I know, they never provided me with information. I would hope I would know if they were involved, but I don't have any knowledge of them being involved. And then he goes on. He goes, I know. Now listen to this. This is great. I know you're a private investigator, and whatever information is revealed, I just hope it doesn't go towards the media side of this. I've tried to contact, and those redacted names, he says he's tried to contact Julian Assange and Kim.com.
Oh.
The detective says that several times, but I haven't been successful. I just want to ask them what they know and if they can help me with the investigation. And I want to clarify this as I keep reading this. I don't think that Detective Della Camera is a bad guy at all. I think he was trying to do his job with shackles and handcuffs on, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah.
I think he really wants to solve this case, but I think the powers that be were just handcuffing him in more ways than he knew. And so you just keep going. He says, it was told that the family were told by redacted that regardless of whatever direction the investigation goes, we need to solve the murder, identify the bad guy, and get him off the street. So in keeping with that spirit, I need to, quote, rule out the possibility, this is what Wheeler said, that Seth's death could have been related to his job at the DNC. And then he comes back and he says, I haven't been able to rule out that someone at the DNC could have been possibly responsible for Seth's death.
That's very important. That's very important. Yeah.
That means they're not saying that it's not the DNC. And you tell me if you want me to quit going through this.
No, keep going.
Okay.
This is good info.
So basically, he was also asked, were you aware that Seth was having problems with two supervisors at his job at the DNC? And he was very emotionally upset because of his problems at the DNC. Della Camera replied, I was aware that there were problems, but I don't know who the supervisors were that he was having problems with. I know, and I'll tell you off the record.
Okay, great.
We'll talk about that sometime.
Beautiful.
Next, he was asked, Della Camera was asked, was he aware that Seth received money from WikiLeaks in exchange for the emails? Did you look into his financial records? Della Camera replied, again, now listen to this. You saw what was just said, right?
Yep.
He asked about financials. This is the response from the detective. I can't go into details with specifics about the case such as that. I really can't.
Wow.
Can someone explain why I'm being sued? Okay.
Very strange.
Says, nothing against you, Rod, but I'm just not trying to get myself jammed up. So he's telling you this is what happened.
Yep.
Otherwise, why wouldn't you just say that didn't happen?
Very easy to do.
Right. And so it just keeps going. And then it says, I asked once again about the email records. I informed Della Camera that we need to disprove the theory that Seth was killed because of his job at the DNC. Della Camera stated, honestly, Put it this way, if Seth worked, now listen to this, if Seth worked anywhere else other than the DNC, nobody would give a shit about his death. That was his exact words verbatim.
Yep.
And then he comes on, he says, the only reason there is such interest is because of where he worked. And Rod Wheeler then asks, so why is that? And then Dellacamera replies, again, it goes back to the DNC, a political organization, and it all started stemming from around the time of the election. And it sounds like someone was trying to ruffle feathers. I mean, that's what I think.
Wow.
And so then you go through and says, but Seth's death could have been a hit ordered by the DNC, right? This is Dellacamera's response. Me personally, I don't think it was a hit because he wasn't shot in the head. If you're going to kill somebody, you're going to make sure they die. Seth didn't die right away. He lived for a while and died at the hospital. So there's that coming from the detective as well. And he never. And then now listen to this. This is just so good. I'm sorry, man. I get jazzed up about this because this is one of the key pivotal pieces in our investigation too. So Seth didn't die right away. He says that. So he says, I can't go now. Keep in mind, he says, did he say anything? He never made any statements as to who shot him, is what Wheeler asks. Mm-hmm. The detective says, once again, I can't go into detail about that. I just can't, Rod. Next, he was asked, so is it possible that he could have said something in terms of who did it, who shot him? Dellacamera hesitated and said, it's possible. I guess anything is possible.
Okay, yes. So that I take that to mean that Seth definitely made a statement about who shot him.
There's a reason we don't have the body cams. Now think about that. We have the body cams in the Parkland shooting and Las Vegas, but we don't have them in this?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then it just keeps going. It says, was asked, here's a fair question. Can we rule it out that Seth's death is definitely not related to his job? Dellacamera, the detective, replied, no, not to an extent, not just yet. We can't rule anything out. I feel that if it's related to the DNC, at some point it may come out. If somebody gets locked up and they're like, I'm taking the heat for this, and they're approached about somebody else, I feel like somebody is going to start snitching then.
I think he's underestimating the might of the DNC.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And then so it just keeps going and says, I know some of the news outlets are about to jump out there with more information from wherever they get it from, and a question will be posed to me. Can we rule out that Seth's death had anything to do with his job at the DNC? And I think the answer is going to have to be, and please tell me if I'm wrong, no, we can't rule it out because we don't have a suspect behind bars. We don't have a person of interest. We can't rule out anything at this point. Then the question is going to be asked, is it possible that Seth's death was in fact orchestrated from someone related to his job? Dellacamera, the homicide detective, says, look directly at Rod Wheeler, and he says, the answer? After a long and brief laughter, Dellacamera laughs and he says, you've been looking into this yourself, and you have investigative experience. And like we said, anything is possible, right? Until we get somebody locked up, we just don't know. Anything's possible. And says, look, Rod, please do not quote me on anything. I don't need that shit coming back on me. If I'm quoted, I will probably be reassigned to CCB somewhere, moving property around. There's certain details of this case that we just can't renew to anybody, just for the integrity of the case. But do what you got to do for your business and the news story, but please don't throw me under the bus, Rod. Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, he does. Yeah, a lot.
Have you heard this before or no?
I remember when it came out, but it's been so long. I haven't read through it since it originally came out.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and so it's and then he asks about money. Rod asked him about money from WikiLeaks, and he responds with, I don't know. I need to go back and look at his financials. I didn't notice anything back when I looked, but it's been a while. And if he did receive money, who knows where he put it at? Especially if he did receive money, maybe he stashed it somewhere else. We just don't know. And then basically he asked about reviewing Seth's computer and emails for WikiLeaks. Dellacamera, another long pause, and I'll end it on this one, says, well, there's stuff on there that it's emails are sent every day. The context of the emails, I can't get into the details. Again, I don't have anything pointing the finger at the DNC other than the conspiracy theories. Nobody has come to me with direct information and provided detailed information about the DNC being involved somehow.
Now,
how many times will he deny the emails?
Yeah. like Peter. So let's get to the the subject of payments potentially being made. You and I talked about something the other night, specifically with regard to this, and you had spoken about it on your live stream, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And this information is now coming out in the lawsuit. So, can you talk about the specific revelations regarding payments made to Seth and to another individual?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll tell you what I can tell you.
Yeah.
As far as what we know. We believe Ed Butowski to be, we have our thoughts on Ed. Ed and I don't get along because I wouldn't throw sources under the bus to him, if that makes sense. I would not. I've looked people in the eye and I've told them, look, I will not. You've got a wife, you've got kids. I'm going to protect your family the best I can. Kind of like what Assange has done, with some of the things he's uncovered.
Yes.
And so, just to give you a little heads up, the reason why we had a falling out is because they wanted one of our sources, and they wanted them to go public, and the source didn't want to. And I was not willing to throw a family under the bus and jeopardize their livelihood or possibly their life to do that. So that's where we had a little falling out there. As far as the money goes, Ed is as many. I think it's pretty obvious Ed was our source. I mean, I think everyone knows that he's one of our sources. I mean, it's just. Yeah. I mean, we were saying stuff months before any of this even came out.
And just to be clear, how did Ed get involved with this situation?
Well, according to Ed, and he's always been very clear about this to me, he was backstage, and at Fox News, and he was talking with Ellen Ratner, and she basically had, just came back from the embassy. And she said she was in Berlin dedicating a statue to her brother, Michael Ratner, who was passed away. He happened to be Julian Assange's attorney.
Wasn't he the second attorney for Julian Assange in WikiLeaks to pass away in a short time?
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And and she'd been over in Berlin because they were dedicating a statue to him. And according to Ed, that's when she brought up, the Seth Rich information.
Yep, Ed Butowski.
Ed Butowski, yeah, and that's when, he was asked to try to get a hold of the family and let them know, and that's kind of how he got involved.
So Ellen Ratner approached Ed Butowski backstage at Fox during a broadcast with information specifically from Julian Assange directly, asking him to reach out to the family to pass this information along. And
Correct.
and one more time, what was that information?
It was the information about the brothers being involved.
Okay, and can you tell us specifically what Julian was purported to have said?
I don't know the exact specifics, other than, and I'm also trying to kind of toe the line here, considering our lawsuits. But it's all out there now too in Ed Butowski's lawsuit against these people. Ed put it all out there. So, I think it's verbatim in that one. I don't have it in front of me, or I'd read it to you.
Okay.
But, basically Ed, I'll say this much about Ed, and he may or may not like me anymore. I mean, I don't know the situation. I think he's a very credible source, and, and he has never wavered from his story. It's not like, when you talk to the guy, and I haven't talked to him in a long time, but it's not like, some people tell you a story. Can you see me, or I still got my screen up?
No, you're still on the screen share. So go ahead and
share, will that work?
Yeah, go to stop share. Yep, and that'll pop up.
Now
there
you can
we
see
go.
my ugly mug.
Yep, we can see you now.
Right, perfect. And I just want to show you this. So, just to give you an example, when you investigate, and as much as these guys do on my team, and stuff that we've learned about, and you learn things over the course of time, interviewing people, body language, things like that. If I tell you about this lid, 10 times. Something's normally going to change in that story. I'm like, oh man, this is amazing Yankee candle lid. Look at it. Next time it's like, oh yeah, I've got a lid here. It's kind of, it never changes. It's the same story every time that he's told. So, people that are going to lie, people that are not going to tell the truth, their stories change. And that's one thing I'll say about Ed. His story has never wavered. It has been the same every time I've seen him tell it, whether it's on CNN, whether it's at the Gateway Pundit, whether it's when I used to talk to him, it's never changed. So, and I think that's important to tell people at home. It's never wavered. And there's a lot of people that's how he got involved. And, I'm sure there's probably regrets that he got involved. I think he thought he was doing the right thing to try to help out. I know the family couldn't afford a private investigator. He offered to help with that, and the family agreed. So, if at some point there was, and I've seen the contract, the family put the contract out. So if the family thought that he had ill intentions at the time, why would you ever agree to that? With Ed and Rod.
Well, it always seemed to me that all of the problems kind of started brewing when the DNC handler got involved. It seemed like everything was copacetic. The family was very happy to receive, the pro bono assistance that Ed and Rod Wheeler were willing to provide. And then as soon as the gentleman from the DNC, I don't remember his name, but he got involved, and then all of a sudden, everything went sideways.
It's alarming how that worked itself out. That handler has sued me as well.
And how did that turn out?
Well, I don't want to say a whole lot, but next couple of weeks is going to be very, very interesting for some folks.
Okay.
And I'll always leave it up to that, but it's going to get squashed. I'm pretty confident in that.
Now, if I might ask, throughout the course of all these various lawsuits that you're facing now, are you going to have the opportunity to depose some interesting parties involved in this case?
We sure hope so. We have been looking for legal representation. Pro bono. We're not a very wealthy group. We're not we do this. I do this full time now. Like you do. I do this full time, and we're crowdfunded. I mean, I'm blessed now that our website's grown to a decent size to where.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. That helps a little bit at the at the DC Patriot, and so, but it's one of those things where, I'm not driving around in a Lexus. I don't have a Tesla. I'm not. We don't have, I'm not. He's a friend, so I don't hope he sees this. He may slap me, but we don't have James O'Keefe money. Not trying to be mean. James is a patriot and works his butt off. But if we had those resources, no telling where we would be right now in depositions and firing back and things like that. And we're hoping to eventually get there. And some irons are in the fire, and I hope that works out.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to helping you get, the YouTube channel up and running so you guys can be doing regular streams through there too. Because that's a very important part of being able to reach people. It's very frustrating. I'm not going to lie. YouTube is, pretty much anti-creators like you and myself. People who are getting out good information, people who are effective with what they do, and you're very effective, But I know you have a very large following on Periscope, lots of people watching there, but I know we've got almost 3,500 people in the chat right now, Matt. People would be all over your channel if you were doing regular broadcasts on these various investigations that you're putting out. So, that's going to help out a ton, man, when we can get that up for you.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for offering to help. I really appreciate that, and that'll help us out as well. But I just wanted to clear that out there. I mean, I know there's some beef between Ed and I, but I also wanted to. If he watches this, and he probably will, to let him know that I don't hate him. And, I think, one thing I can say about the guy is his story's never changed, not once.
Right.
And I think that says a lot to what he's, and think about this for a second. I've never said this really publicly either. Why in the world, Ed's, fairly well-off guy, financier out of Dallas. He didn't have to do this. Why in the hell would he even get involved in this? It's not for money.
No.
And he's lost, hundreds of millions of dollars from clients because they've slandered him all over the place. They've slandered myself and my team and many others. And so, that's something there too. And then you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, and I'll bring it up. But I have a lot of people that say, well, you got a lot of evidence, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. We have more stuff we haven't talked about that's important to this. But
excellent.
People always ask me, they go, well, Matt, how in the world, do you know it's not a botched robbery? So I'm going to run down.
Fair question.
Yeah. We talked about this this earlier, you and I. Now think about this, folks at home. If you're not aware of our lawsuit that we're being sued in, we are being sued by the most powerful Democrat law firm in the world, Bowie Schiller Flexner. former Obama White House counsel Michael Gottlieb, attorneys like Joshua Riley and Merrill Gravinsky, who Merrill used to be a legal analyst for CNN. These are the people suing us. I'm a guy that's sitting right now in my living room, or whatever you want to call it, in Arkansas. I don't have Tucker Carlson's platform. I'm not Sean Hannity. I don't have a program on Newsmax or OWN.
Yep.
I've just worked my butt off on these investigations, a lot of different things, and putting out truth. But why would you sue me? I don't have Ed Batowski's money. I don't have the Washington Times money. I'm not wealthy. It's cost me jobs, my marriage. So when people ask me, I get this all the time. How do you know it's not a botched robbery? If that's not enough proof, you're obviously not opening and waking up to things that are being reported across this country daily that are being unraveled.
Right.
Because why in the world would former Obama White House counsel be suing myself and my guys over this investigation? Now they're going to come back and tell you, I would read you some of their little twerpy responses, but I don't really want to give them the floor in their lovely hateful emails they send back and forth to us.
Mm-hmm.
But think about that. Does anyone really believe an $1,800 an hour attorney is doing this pro bono?
No. And I would imagine that they wouldn't be coming after you, except for the fact that you have specifically put out credible information that directly contradicts their narrative. This is a common occurrence when they have someone out there who is doing good work and who is screwing up their game. They want to do everything they can to shut you down and keep the story on the official narrative.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, that's exactly what's going on. And there, of course, our lawsuit, for those at home, is a quote defamation lawsuit. And what they're suing us for is because we reported the information from our source, which was that money went into people's bank accounts from WikiLeaks.
Yep.
They're saying, well, we accused them of a crime, and we can't prove that crime. And then I'll be honest with you. I mean, this thing's going to transpire, but sometimes things are said in the heat of the moment, passionately. When you're trying to investigate things, and you get frustrated, and you say things like, "Man, why the hell don't you want this solved?" Or why aren't you folks reaching out to us? Why are you so silent? If I'm at fault for that, then I probably then I am. I'm a passionate guy, but I honestly am not going to sit here and apologize for trying to solve a murder that everyone should be looking at.
Right.
And that's literally what they want. Now, I will tell you this much. I'll tell your audience this because I said it the other day. People need to know this. We were in the middle of trying to settle with these guys because, we don't have a lot of money.
Right.
And we didn't, and we didn't want to do a monetary judgment because we can't pay it anyway. But,
right.
And we were close. We had an apology letter. We pulled everything that had to do with Aaron Rich and his mom and dad off our websites. And we thought we were good to go. And they came back and this is literally what they said. If you folks wonder, keep in mind, you can't sue on behalf of the dead. That's a legal status. You can't. It just doesn't exist. You can say whatever you want about somebody who's deceased. There's no such thing as defamation on behalf of the dead. And they literally came back to us and they said, look, it's no dice unless you agree to never mention Seth Rich publicly again. They would not settle. That was their stipulations. They will not settle with us unless we agree to never talk about Seth Rich publicly again.
Wow.
That's their stipulation. And so to me, that just says everything. It's just like the reason they're suing us. That says everything to me.
They just want to shut it down.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm telling a lot of stuff that I haven't said a whole lot publicly before, but
I appreciate you opening up. I mean, this is it's very exciting. Especially for me, just me personally, because I've been following this story for so long. And, I feel like I've had the luxury of watching you guys, having, helping all of this unfold. It's such important work, and another reason why I thought it was important right now is because I think it's time to really bring the attention back to this case. A lot of people, there has been so much news, so much unfolding in the years since Seth Rich was, murdered execution style on that DC street. And, there's important work to be done yet for this case, for the things you guys have uncovered. It's important to bring it back out into the light and make sure that people understand that, this hasn't gone away. There is more to come, and I could not personally be more excited, about the fact that you guys are going to have the opportunity to go before a judge and prove all of these things, and bring new things out based upon the information you're going to get from these people that you'll surely be deposing and speaking with.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people that that we need to dispose, and that we need to talk to, and we need to literally just have there needs to be some conservative attorneys out there in the country that want to fight for this.
Yeah.
And the one thing that the left does better than the right is they crowdfund.
Yes.
And they donate. I mean, you look at liberal activist groups like Media Matters and Share Blue and Act Blue. I mean, they just get billions and billions of dollars just to fight people like us and Tucker Carlson and others. And so that's something where, as conservatives, we've got to start stepping up and backing folks like yourself, like my team, and people that are getting the truth out. And I think it's really important and pivotal for people to realize you can't trust the mainstream media. Even Fox News is complicit about 90% of the time.
Yeah.
They're just not putting out, the stuff you hear on Fox News. I mean, and I'm not trying to knock it. I mean, I still watch it. I mean, a lot of people do, but
of course,
I feel like, and you report on this daily too. So I'm speaking, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like every time I watch Fox News, I'm like, hell, I talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. I'm like, man, this is old news at this point.
Yeah, most certainly. Just a couple of quick thank yous real quick. James Shea, thank you very much for that super chat. Zelda Quigley, thank you as well. Candace Sherman, thank you, RP. I will definitely sub to Matt's channel. Awesome. Yeah, once everything is up and running, we'll have you back on the show again, and I'll help you launch it, and we'll see how many of my subs we can get to go over there. I would imagine it's going to be quite a few. And then also, I just want to say that my friends from Cajun Vapes are in the audience. They are the viewers who made me my own unique vape juice and sent it over. The vaping used to be a part of the program before, but I had too many people complaining about it, so I don't do it on air any longer. But I still do vape, and I just want to suggest that everybody go over to Cajun Vape's website. Feel free to drop that link in the chat, you guys. You're going to have to separate the name from the .com so that it will go through. So just put a space in there. But yeah, I believe that earlier when I had announced that they had sent me the free vape juice, they said that they had a coupon code when you went to the website if you purchased your own vape juice from there. So try that. There we are. Cajun Vapes, home of Bayou Swamp Juice. So try Red Pill 78 in the coupon code when you guys go to the website and get your vape on. And I'm sure that they will still be hooking you up. So thanks again, guys. I'm still puffing on that juice. All right, so let's see. Where were we at? We were talking about the cases, the upcoming cases. How many separate suits do you have right now, or is this a mega suit brought on all by these super powerful lawyers?
It's a mega suit. There is a suit by Brad Bauman,
that's the handler,
the crisis management expert.
Yep.
That one I believe is going to be quashed. I mean, I'm not as concerned with that one because they're waiting to see how this one turns out. And keep in mind, we don't have legal representation, but the judge on it has already thrown it out on behalf of Batowski and Gary Heaven. He somehow sued Gary Heaven, who is the founder for Curves Weight Loss. He owns like 10,000 gyms. He's a billionaire. And he had went on InfoWars and talked about the Seth Rich case and talked about Brad Bauman, so Bauman sued him, but the judge has already tossed those two out. We just don't have attorneys, so we're not as well versed at getting things tossed out. So I believe ours will be thrown out on that one as well.
All right.
The mega suit is the one that's done by Bowie's, and he's the one, of course, that's in a big, massive feud right now with Alan Dershowitz. They've got dueling lawsuits going back and forth against each other. And but he's also, talk about how powerful these guys are, folks. They're Nike's attorneys.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes.
They also are the ones that were responsible for the Bush Gore recount.
Okay.
So they're as powerful as it gets. I've got a picture. What the hell? Maybe this will make his butt pucker. But I've got we have a picture of one of the attorneys in his living room. I won't say his name. I'll just do this.
Okay, go ahead.
This way I'm not, but he'll know who he is. One of the attorneys suing us, and in his living room is none other than Mark Warner and Chuck Schumer.
Wow.
And these are the people that are suing us. A guy in Arkansas with his ragtag bunch of investigators, and we're not, like I said, we're not Fox News. We don't have a whole lot of backing behind us, but it's pretty crazy when you think of it like that. The other thing I want to bring up too is the Seth Rich hush money, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Oh no. Are you going to show some documents?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And, let me see if I can pull it up here.
Yeah, but no, I am not aware of that. Definitely interested to hear about that.
Let me see if I can pull it up for you.
Well, while you're looking for that, I just want to say hello to my friend and my good friend and fellow researcher, Methods. Looks like Methods just jumped in the stream. Glad to see you here, buddy. You guys could hear me vaping. I thought I put on the I thought I put on the mute. Sorry, guys.
Subliminal messaging, man. Just tell them that.
Matt, I do want to say also, earlier in the broadcast, I saw that someone named Mega Lady had requested that you unblock her on Twitter. You might have I mean, it happens every now and then. You accidentally block somebody, or maybe you thought that you saw a thread with a bunch of lefties shouting hate at you, so you just go on a blocking rampage. I know I've seen it a lot before, so I just thought I would pass that along for you.
No, absolutely, I will do that as
okay.
well. You just never know. Sometimes you block the wrong person when somebody's telling you to eat another cheeseburger.
Right.
So, I mean, it's amazing these guys would never say anything to you and to your face, but the keyboard warriors are mighty.
Isn't it incredible? The way that social media has just molded today's society. People are just fearless when they're not showing their faces, and when they're putting these things out on places like Twitter, etc. They're willing to just say the most terrible things. I've made a point to speak to people through social media in the same manner that I will speak to them in person. The way I'm acting with you right now is the way that I act with people in my day-to-day life.
No, I mean, and I'm the same way. I think that's what people, when they meet me in person, they're like, "Man, he's the same guy that I see on his broadcast." It's like, yeah, I'm not not sugarcoating anything. I'm just who I am.
Just a guy, just genuine guy.
Just a guy. Can you see the screen? Did I do it right?
Yep. You are on your screen is on camera now.
This is a really big part of the investigation as well. Eddie Graham on our team, we call him the Graham Cracker, uncovered this in September of 2017, so almost 2 years ago. And this is the amazing thing. I'll read the totals here in a second, but literally 2 payments from the DNC to CrowdStrike, 2 six-figure payments. One the day after Seth Rich was murdered, and one the day after Sean Lucas was found mysteriously dead in his bathroom.
I do know about these payments. That's right.
We broke this story, and then a lot of the media outlets tried to wipe it from us. And, the good thing is some of the people like Laura Ingraham and others shared it. So, I mean, it helped, we do a lot of stuff that that people are like, we'll take and run with, and then we don't ever get, as long as the truth gets out. That's where I used to care about it. I don't care like I used to now, as long as somebody gets the information and it gets out to the public.
Right.
But these payments, I mean, it's awfully coincidental. The 2 six-figure payments were made, one the day after Seth Rich was murdered and one the day after Sean Lucas was found dead, and to CrowdStrike. Now, for those at home, and a lot of people may not know this, the same Clinton attorney that hired Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele also hired CrowdStrike to clean the DNC servers.
That's right.
So it all goes hand in hand, but these amounts were large amounts, and for the way they went out, you look at June 11th, the day after Seth Rich was murdered, 2016, $98,000, and then you look at August 3rd, the day after Sean Lucas was murdered, almost $120,000.
Wow.
Of payments that went to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike has been subpoenaed in our lawsuits, and the DNC has now been subpoenaed. And I can tell you from what I heard through the grapevine They are very upset they've been subpoenaed.
I bet. How about what's her name? Debbie Washing Machine Schultz.
Haven't subpoenaed her yet, but I got a feeling that this thing's going to go down so many rabbit holes that it's going to get crazy. I really feel that way.
Now, I'm wondering, what possible reason could they have for making those payments to CrowdStrike? I mean,
on those days, right?
Yeah, let's see, what does CrowdStrike do? I mean, they're a tech company. They're a tech security company. I bet you. I mean, just spitballing here, but I mean the videos are just completely missing. I mean, perhaps somebody might have logged in and erased something. Perhaps it could have been an even more direct connection, directly to the deaths of these young men. I mean, CrowdStrike, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of there's some foreign nationals that work there, or maybe people that originated from some other countries. I believe the guy who started CrowdStrike, he's a Russian guy, and he has some connections to intelligence services here in the United States.
Oh, Dmitry Alperovich.
Yeah, Dmitry Alperovich.
Yeah, I know Dmitry. Oh
yeah. Have you met Dmitry?
I have not met Dmitry. I don't know if I want to meet Dmitry. I mean that. It's interesting. You look at Alperovich, and then you look at Sean Henry. Both, Sean Henry was FBI as well. Both gentlemen promoted by Robert Mueller, special counsel. Just more coincidences in this entire situation. But I was trying to pull something up here that I thought I was actually working on the CrowdStrike stuff as well, and I had some files here on my phone. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to me that the coincidences. That the two people that were heading up CrowdStrike, the same firm that the DNC hired to clean the servers, were promoted by the same guy that did the special counsel into the Russia investigation. Now,
it's such an incestuous web there in DC. And especially with everything that's been happening in these last several years, it's just incredible when you look at these connections and you see these people. Every single person is like involved in this, in every very all these different cases, but they all connect back to the same place.
And would you say that's a hell of a conflict of interest?
Oh, incredible conflict of interest.
So CrowdStrike is hired. Robert Mueller is hired as the special counsel. And he's talking to two guys that run the company that did the majority of the Russia reporting. That's where it came from, was CrowdStrike. They can't prove it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all third-party information. They never, haven't viewed the servers.
Never.
And so, but think about that. That would be like if you and I had a company, all right? We became lawyers. We hired a couple of guys that ran another big company, and then we got hired to investigate those guys.
Yep.
That's pretty much what it is.
Exactly. Now, somebody had mentioned, and I've done a report on this before, Bill Binney had reported that there were 32 pages of communications between Seth Rich and Julian Assange, and that the NSA had a hold of that. During the course of your investigation, have you specifically come across that information? Have you been able to corroborate that with Bill Binney?
That information actually came from Ty Clevenger.
Did it?
And Ty subpoenaed some information on that. That was from the FBI. Ty sued the FBI for us a year and a half ago on some of this information. But yeah, he basically what they sent back is that they just can't reveal anything. And so Bill Binney he's correct on that. But that information came from Ty, who has worked with our team in the past and. Who is representing Ed Matowski, attorney representing Ed, and it's crazy. I'm gonna see if I can pull some more information up on that for you off my files. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean we have so much stuff here, and it's the lawsuit. When did we sue them? Was it May? It was May of last year, maybe. When we filed suit against the FBI. I'm getting sued and suing so many people. It's kind of crazy at this point.
My good friend Hulkinator and one of my mods here sent over an article from BuzzFeed News I thought this was laughable. This is from 2017. It is called Cracking the Code. He solved the DNC hack. Now he's telling his story for the first time. This is about a Marine Corps cyber warrior, Robert Johnson, discovered that the Russians had hacked the Democratic National Committee. Now, I have never read this article, mostly because I thought that it was pure poppycock. First of all, it's BuzzFeed news. Second of all, when Robert Mueller, released the Mueller report, there was absolutely no evidence in that report to show that the Russians had hacked the server. I mean, it was basically he just stated it. It didn't really present any evidence to say so. But let's see. I'm going to be looking through this article real quick while you're looking for that. Although the broad outlines of the DNC hack are well known, its details have remained a mystery. Let's see. So Johnston also largely worked on his own. The party had hired CrowdStrike essentially in place of the FBI, which is very strange that they would do that. To this day, the Bureau has not had access to the DNC server. Of course, it casts doubt on the whole investigation. I don't understand why they wouldn't use the world's premier investigation agency to look into what was arguably one of the biggest and most important stories of our time. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. What did President Trump call her? He called Becky Wasserman Schultz. I can't remember. He called her the wrong name. Something like that. Let's see. So, and they're very, very concerned about the fact, with this hack. But when it comes down to the hack of Hillary's server, the private unsecured server in her bathroom in Pkwy, New York, and all of the emails going to the Chinese. BuzzFeed isn't writing any articles about that. That seems even a lot more important to me.
Right. Right. No, they absolutely are. And I was trying to think, it's March of last year.
Okay.
And it's amazing that this lawsuit was filed about 2 weeks before we were served a lawsuit. And that's a little uncanny, right?
Yeah.
And so this is from Ty Clevenger. It says, this morning I filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit that asks a federal judge in Brooklyn to order the FBI and U.S. Department of Justice to release records concerning the murder of former Democrat and National Committee employee Seth Rich. And it says, back in October, I wrote about the U.S. Department of Justice ordering the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. to release records about the murder. But since that time, not a single record has been produced. Around the same time, the FBI refused to search for records in its Washington field office, even though that is where the records are most likely to be found. The lawsuit notes that the FBI has a history of trying to hide records from FOIA requesters in Congress. I also asked that the court order the National Security Administration to release all of its communications with members of Congress regarding Seth Rich, Julian Assange, Kim.com, and others. As you're probably aware, Mr. Rich's parents filed a suit this week against Fox News producer Malia Zimmerman and frequent guest Ed Batowski. I believe this was a serious tactical error. All of the defendants now have the legal right to subpoena documents and witnesses, and you can be sure they will use that power aggressively. And this is what Ty put out in March of last year, and I'm going to pull some other things up for you here. But so I knew that's when we originally filed the suit against the NSA, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's where that one came from, and then if you look at you look at the whole situation of where that came from, that's what stemmed from it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Now, Matthew from TNFM had texted. We mentioned just very briefly earlier that you had an eyewitness to corroborate the fact that Brazil and Bowser were on the scene at the hospital. And according to them, Brazil was supposed to have been out of state, right? Wasn't she supposed to have been in Washington at the time?
She claimed that she was out of the state, but they were not very intelligent. We're a pretty good team at what we do. And they had left their geotagging on. And so she was supposed to go on CNN on Sunday morning, and Brazil did not make that appearance. Now, she claims she wasn't in D.C., but in fact, we found out that her flight didn't leave for Seattle until around 5 o'clock that afternoon. Seth was murdered at 4:19 a.m.
So almost 12 hours after.
12 hours later. And she missed her appearance on CNN that morning. She was scheduled. We can prove all that. I mean, that's just public knowledge. And then the geotagging, I mean, my guys are pretty good at what they do. I mean, I can even tell you the flight she was on. And so it's interesting on how all that worked itself out. But then the interesting thing is, and like I said, I'm not going to name any names, but it's interesting how there's a certain person in this investigation that lives in Colorado. And it's interesting how Donna Brazile went from that trip to Seattle and then went to Colorado the next day. And that person's very closely related to Seth Rich.
Really? Okay.
So that's pretty. It's pretty interesting how that worked itself out.
I did not know that. That is definitely new.
So yeah, that's some interesting stuff there as well. I was trying to find a defamation lawsuit filed against CNN, New York Times, and lawyers, the Seth Rich family. There's just so many lawsuits, man. It's out of control on both sides. And but I was trying to figure out the NSA information. I know what Bill Binney's talking about because I know Ty filed that information in March of last year. So, and that's what Bill is referring to is what Ty got back, which was that they wouldn't release information. Same old, citing national security or whatever reasoning that they like to give.
Real quick, I saw a couple of people mentioning the volume in the chat. Is Matt louder than me, or am I louder than Matt? If you guys can let me know, I can adjust just a little bit to try and get the levels equal. Because for me on my end, everything sounds exactly the same. Okay. So, so that's pretty crazy. I did not know that Donna Brazile, potentially, I didn't even think about that she could potentially be meeting with that individual.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. And we received a letter from her attorney. In fact, we kind of made fun of it because it was dated August of 2020. And, we were like, we put an article out, this is Donna Brazile sends America First Media letter from the future. And we had a little fun with it at the time. But they sent us a letter trying to, silence us. But the thing is the source is solid on this. And, I don't think that Donna's involved in that regard, but I would like to know who notified them because I think that person is a person of interest.
Yeah.
And so that to me is why they have not said anything else about it. They've just kind of swept it under the rug. Bowser kind of tried to dismiss it, never, the typical, never heard of the guy. I'm like, I've got more followers than Twitter than you do. Really? Even the mayor of DC, it's like, give me a break. So it's one of those situations where they like to play that game, man. And if I want to send you something to play video or audio wise, can I do it?
Yeah, if you do the screen share, then it will it'll play whatever you have going on your screen.
Hear it?
Yeah, we'll be able to hear it, and it will it'll go right through. Yeah, so by all means, just do the screen share and then play whatever it is that you want to play.
All right, I'll do that here. I mean, I'm gonna do. How many of you have heard the Cy Hirsch audio?
I've played it on the show before several times.
Play that one then.
Okay.
I'm going to play this one, a video that we had put together a while back.
All right, and I do just want to warn the audience that the Cy Hirsch tape does have several expletives in it. So if anyone is sensitive to that, I won't play the Cy
Hirsch one unless you think we should.
Okay. No, I mean I just actually played a little bit the other day, and we've done it before. So basically, in that, let's just recap it for the audience. But Cy Hirsch tells a story about an FBI contact who we've now learned the FBI contact was Andrew McCabe. Just incredible. Andrew McCabe told Cy Hirsch that Seth Rich was the leaker of the DNC emails, leaked them to WikiLeaks. Very, very interesting source, and it's crazy that Cy Hirsch was out there talking about it, and that was, I believe, a tape-recorded phone call between Ed Butowski and Cy Hirsch.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's spot on, and that was, and of course now Cy Hirsch has tried to come back and say that that what he said wasn't true.
Why say it?
It's amazing to me, and I'm going to try to pull up our own channel here. I think I can get it better through YouTube than I can through our own website. I'll make it quicker for you and your audience.
Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You look at the Cy Hirsch audio, and of course, there's other audios out there as well. I mean, have you heard the Joe Rogan audio on it?
I have not.
Let's see if we can figure this out here. Hang on a sec. Let's do Joe Rogan first. If you have what's the word I'm looking for? If you have virgin ears, this is not what you want to hear.
Okay. So get ready, guys. Cover up the ears of any children that might be watching with you tonight. If you are sensitive to profanity, just keep in mind.
I mean, it's yeah. Let's see if that's the right one.
Hey, White Hat. What's up, brother?
Let's do this screen share here. I'm learning, by the way, everyone at home. So you can tell me when it looks like I've done it right. Does it look like it's right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So if you don't like curse words, go grab a snack or take a pee break here for a second. Here we go.
No audio.
Nope. No audio?
Yeah. There should be an option to join computer audio. Let me see. Do you see that? No.
See, I'll pause it for a second here.
Yeah, up there at the top, Matt. Options. No, that's not it. I guess
Audio
are you hearing audio on your end?
I am hearing it on my end. Yes.
Okay. Normally it would work. I don't know why it's not coming through. Let me see here. Well, since it's not coming through, let me see.
You want me to send you the link? Would that help?
Send me the link and I can play it here, and it should work.
I'll stop sharing here so they can see my ugly mug, and I can send that to you in the chat. Correct?
Yes, you can.
All right.
And the chat for there it is right there.
This is a guy who is a real Bernie.
Hold on. We're going to go ahead and let me close the chat. Okay, let me readjust. And let me bring up the video.
Sanders supporter, open Bernie Sanders supporter who worked for the DNC. The DNC absolutely rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. He was aware of this. He was there while this was all going down. So was Donna Brazile. Everyone was aware of it. The guy got fucking murdered after he leaked information to WikiLeaks. If you don't think that's a little weird, what are you looking at? What delusional rose-colored glasses are you looking at your party from? Do you think you're in some Julia Roberts movie from 1990? This is real shit. Some guy got killed. He was 24 years old. He was a young guy who was very optimistic and had this view of the world where the guy fucking wore American flag pants and shirt. There's a famous picture of him with a beer on. He's a patriot in a lot of ways. He wanted to be involved in the political process. He was very idealistic. He was probably shattered by finding out that the party that he was working for was corrupting the democratic process. And because I've said this before, I've been accused of helping Donald Trump win by really wacky people online. They're by pointing out all the flaws of Hillary Clinton. Look, man, you can't ignore that shit because you want one side to win. I've talked about all of his flaws too. There's a lot of flawed human beings that run for president, pretty much all of them. It's very rare you have someone who's not flawed.
Right.
We're extremely flawed. We're all flawed, but extremely flawed who wants to be the fucking king of the world. It's very rare. Listen, man, I'm not a fucking reputable person.
That's what I try to tell
my
people.
Political ideologies. I'm just not. I'm not that well read when it comes to politics. I have my opinions on things, but when it comes to things that are rock solid and clear, like that Seth Rich was murdered and people want to ignore it, I'm like, what the fuck do you think happened? There has to be some sort of a disconnect here. When a person is giving information to WikiLeaks that exposes corruption inside the very organization that's responsible for the fucking Democratic Party, and he gets murdered, and you're like, oh, the conspiracy theories. No, he got murdered. There's no conspiracy. It was a botched robbery. Says who? Says who? Where's his? How come his wallet was there? How come his watch was there? How come they didn't take his phone? What the fuck are you talking about that I'm a conspiracy theorist when I just tell you the facts? So and this WikiLeaks thing with Julian Assange is the craziest shit ever when he said there's consequences to sharing information with us. And everybody's like, he works for Russia now. He works for Russia.
So
he was the darling of the left when Obama was in office.
So isn't that amazing? So Julian Assange, he's just a great news guy who's tough as nails.
Who dances creepy and might have fucked some girl while she was asleep. Whatever. He can't leave. He's stuck in the Ecuador embassy
By the
forever.
way, that case was so fucked.
So fucked.
So fucked. He's been so fucked, and it's because the CIA wants him so bad, and they control everybody. And now they have influence over Ecuador, and they're trying to fuck. They're trying to get a Halliburton guy to be their new. Anyway,
they might just blow up that place. It's a gas leak.
No doubt, right? I wouldn't be surprised if shit like that happened.
If more stuff comes out, like the Seth Rich stuff, the amount of people, and this is where I leak any conspiracy theories. The amount of people connected to the Hillary Clinton organization, to the Clinton Foundation, to Bill Clinton, the amount of people that have been iced is stunning. But some of them are bullshit and coincidental, and people, and they're in a weird job, and people get killed. There's a lot of people that have been killed. A lot.
So no matter what anyone thinks about Joe Rogan specifically, a lot of people don't like Joe Rogan, a lot of people don't like Joe Rogan. It doesn't matter, what he had to say there, it holds a lot of weight. This is true, and this is why we're talking about this. People have died, okay? These people have gotten away with it. And I know that a lot of people are very impatient, but I just want to remind everyone, we are talking about a criminal conspiracy that extends beyond borders, beyond nations, across the entire world, and across many, many, many decades. This is so big, you guys. We're not going to have another chance at this, okay? The DOJ is not going to get another shot to take down all of these criminals. If we don't do this perfectly, then we're going to find ourselves in the exact same position at the end of President Trump's 8 years in office. So I urge everyone to just keep a cool head, okay? We can't bum rush the first weak link that we see. We need to do this in an organized fashion, and I really do believe that that's what President Trump and his administration have been doing. Now, Matt, the next thing I want to ask you about is Q. Do you follow Q? Have you seen what's been being posted over the last several years?
I have seen some stuff. I kind of follow from a distance. I am so buried in everything that we've got going. And I just kind of monitor things. I don't really have a take one way or the other. I think it's ignorant to not, I think it's really ignorant to not listen to certain things and to not dig into certain things
media
and to discredit any information. So, there's people on both sides of that aisle, but I think that the most intelligent people are those that keep an open mindset to everything.
There you go. Exactly.
And that's my take on it. I listen to everything. I take everything with a grain of salt, do our own research. There's a lot of stuff that's unexplainable. I'm not Nostradamus, but there's a lot of stuff that I would love to see people try to explain. And then there's some stuff that I think could be coincidence, but honestly, it's not for me to decide. All this is going to work itself out in the end, in my opinion. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have to eat a lot of crow that have dismissed a lot of things.
Excellent. I think that's a very rational, level-headed way to look at it. Everybody's got their own thing. And, this, to me, clearly, I've been following it since the beginning. I have pored over this stuff. I have taken part in my fair share of decodes. I believe the same thing. It can't be ignored. Muffin, what is your problem? Jeez, Muffin is ready to go, you guys. Honey, we have another 12 minutes left in the hour. Come here. All right, we're going to go ahead and play this next video. Matt, you want to give us the introduction for this video here?
Absolutely. This is a video that was put together a couple of years ago. It's very, very, what the word is I'm looking for. It's powerful. There's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
I encourage, and I don't know how to share. I don't know if you can share the link in it with your chat, but
I will.
I
Yep.
encourage people, and I've said this many times on my platforms. I've had this up on our platform for almost a year now. Share this video. Don't worry about what your neighbors think. Don't worry about what your colleagues think. Don't worry about what family members who don't agree with you think. This video, there's no cuss words. It's very powerful. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but have the courage to share this video. If you do anything the rest of the weekend, put this out somewhere on one of your platforms.
Excellent. All right, guys, I'm going to push play, and I'm going to go get Muffin a Chewy.
Blackout and the silence from Washington on the Seth Rich case should scare the hell out of you. You have a DNC staffer shot dead in the streets of Washington. Not only that, you have a mountain of evidence suggesting that he is the WikiLeaks source, which means, by the way, because they're not idiots in Washington, that means people in Washington know he was the source. And I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans. Seth Rich is the card that would bring the entire House down. I'm talking the DNC, I'm talking the media. This destroys the credibility of anyone and everyone that's been pushing this Russia story. And if Republicans know that they have this card that can totally bring down the opposition, and I mean in a permanent way, and if they are not using that card, either the RNC has a vested interest in not taking down their opposition, and I'm talking about every senator and every congressman, because all it would take is one, putting a little pressure on the local police department, or one guy at the FBI with a little bit of weight stepping in and say, hey, we have reason to believe this DNC staffer was the WikiLeaks source. We're going to take over this investigation. It just takes one. It just takes one. And the fact that not even one person involved in this fiasco has stepped forward and tried to do the right thing should scare the hell out of you. The one person with any kind of platform, Sean Hannity, steps up, decides to start asking the right questions. And what happens? What happens immediately afterwards? They try to crucify him. They are scared. This can't just be swept under the carpet. That's power they don't have anymore. So as terrified as you should be of this situation, I promise you they are more terrified. Seth Rich died trying to do the right thing. It's time people stood up and said, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to allow an elite class to shoot us dead in the streets like a dog. We're not going to allow a complicit media that's basically just a propaganda wing for the elites. Tell us what to think. The elites are so used to the rule of law not applying to them. It's escalated and escalated. It's escalated to the point to where they're literally murdering people right in front of us. I'm disgusted. And if you let them take down Sean Hannity or anyone else, you are saying it's okay to shoot us dead in the streets. We cannot let this go. We need justice for Seth Rich.
Yes, that was a very powerful video. Oh, and look what's up next. My good friend, quite frankly. Frank, I hope you're watching tonight. Good. Always a good show. Always a good show. Well, so what are the major takeaways? There is so much happening still. What is next on the horizon? I mean, how long before we see additional information coming out as a result of these lawsuits?
I think it's going to be real telling in the next, 6 months to see what happens as far as interrogatories and things of that nature go. There's certain things that they want from us, which really don't have anything to do with the defamation case. But we're hoping to have legal counsel soon and be able to answer these questions to the best of our ability that they're asking for. Basically what they want to do, and they've even went to the Russian narrative, even in some of their latest responses, basically trying to say that Robert Mueller has proved that Seth Rich was a conspiracy theory, which is insane to me. I mean, Mueller barely even mentioned Seth Rich in his however many hundreds of pages of report. And then you also have to take that they've never, literally, and Roger Stone, I believe, is the one who got the Mueller team to admit that they never even viewed the servers. It was a third-party thing from CrowdStrike.
Yep.
So, that's, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that people are just okay with the way this narrative is playing out in DC, and they shouldn't be. I want more people on the Republican side to step up. And I'll say this real quick and get your thoughts on it too, man. Let me know if people think the same way I do.
Okay.
Here's my take from the GOP. There's certain guys that I really like. Louis Gohmert, Matt Gaetz.
Yep.
Jim Jordan.
Yep. Ratcliffe. I like Ratcliffe a lot.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Ratcliffe, of course, Devin Nunes. I mean, there's just a lot of guys out there. I even like John Kennedy from Louisiana, the senators.
Oh, yeah.
He's like taking Orrin Hatch's spot. That's one of my bucket list things, to have scotch with John Kennedy and Orrin Hatch. And, those guys are doing all they can. But at some point, these people in the GOP, or even if they're not hardcore GOP conservatives that are in Congress, in the Senate, have got to step up and start asking the right questions and start doing the right thing. Because let's just face facts, folks. If you're watching this, and I mean, I know you've got a big following. If you're one of these senators or congressional members that catches this or catches a clip of this show tonight, let me say this to you. What have you got to lose? Do you really think you're going to piss anyone off that's going to vote for you? No. There is no one that's going to vote for – there's no one that's going to vote for Matt Gaetz that's going to be mad that he investigates Seth Rich or any of these other things going on, or the sex cults or any of that stuff that's going on that's really important right now in our society, the Epstein stuff, everything that's really coming to fruition now.
Yeah.
So at some point, these guys have got to step up on our side. And it's like at this point, why do you care? Why do you care what CNN says about you? Why do you care what MSNBC says about you? I have, hundreds of thousands of followers on my platforms across the spectrum. And I'm not saying that to be a blowhard or be cocky. The point I'm trying to make is none of them give a damn what CNN or MSNBC or CNBC or ABC or any of those networks think. If they did, I wouldn't have the following I have. You wouldn't have the following you have. Yep. The president wouldn't have the following he has. So at some point, these people have got to realize that by asking the right questions, you're not going to offend your voting base. And that's the part that really is just frustrating to me. It's like they won't step up to the plate and help us or help you or help others getting the truth out. What are they scared of? And you got to ask the question at some point.
One of my theories on that is that quite honestly, Washington has been so preoccupied with this Russia thing, with every time they have a new complaint about President Trump, something that he said, they waste a lot of time. They waste a lot of time and a lot of air in D.C., and I think they're doing this on purpose so that the people who would be asking those questions never get the opportunity to get there. I don't even know that Congress has passed much more than a handful of laws in the time since this most recent session. What have they gotten done? Anything that's happened in Washington has been because President Trump has come in with an executive order, or he's gotten it done through the administrative side. Congress is, they're running down the clock, Niles Delta said. They're running down the clock, and unfortunately, it is, it's broken in D.C. Our system of government is broken, and it has been designed that way on purpose so that Congress can, quite honestly, get done what they want to get done to help their friends, to help whatever their special interests are that they're getting money from, these super PACs. And this is a point I wanted to bring up earlier. You had mentioned the grassroots fundraising for the left, the things that they get money for. One of the things that one of the reasons that they're able to do that is because of people like George Soros. George Soros is able to take all of that money and put it into these, basically, funnel it through a series of smaller donations. And so then it gives, millions of dollars to each of these various causes or, just this ridiculous stuff. Now, we just pulled up a tweet on the screen here, Matt, if you want to tell us about that.
It's just actually something that goes into what you were saying about what's been going on in Congress. And I think this kind of sums up the last month of what's been happening and how they've been talking, to President Trump. I put out a tweet. It kind of went viral today. And did you read it yet?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And to me, it just sums up everything that we're talking about. Yeah, I said, today has been a really hard day for me. I just realized that my mom and dad were racist. They've always told me growing up that if I don't like it here, I can leave. And so to me, that just sums up everything that we're dealing with the left right now. I mean, it's just absolute hypocrisy. If they don't agree with you, you're a racist. You're a xenophobe. You're a bigot. It's just name calling for the sake of name calling. Racist doesn't even mean anything anymore. They beat it into the ground.
Yep.
And it means nothing. I mean, you know, you look at Elizabeth Warren, she claimed to be Native American Indian for the last 3 decades. No one says a word about that besides the
boo.
Cherokees.
I can't believe that. I thought for sure somebody would bring it up. They
Right?
haven't said boo about it.
No. I mean nothing. And you look at all these things. I mean, every time you watch a Democrat debate, I'm wondering if if there's going to be a little button where I can press so I can listen in English. I mean, the last debate they spent half the night talking in Spanish.
Yep.
I mean, it's absurd. I mean, this is. I think President Trump is. We're talking Trump now, but I think Trump's going to win by a landslide in 2020.
Oh, I believe it.
I believe he's going to carry states that are going to shock them. I believe he's going to carry. This is my prediction. I believe he's going to carry New Hampshire, Nevada, and Colorado. And I think it's going to really shell shock them. I think this is going to be, if we get out as your followers, my followers, if we get out and we continue the grassroots movement and we pound the pavement, we will have there's no doubt to me that we can really put a nail in the coffin to the Democratic Party. And if we want to save this republic, I think it's something that everyone needs to take seriously.
Amen. I'm with you 100% on that. Well, Matt, we have reached the end of the second hour. This has been one of the quickest 2 hours in my time here doing this program. I just need to do a couple of quick thank yous and we'll close it out. Thank you, Ray Medeiros. Thank you, Sandy C. She says, thank you, Matt, for all your incredibly hard work. B. Dank, thank you for that. David S., thank you for that. And Alma Resendez, thank you for your generous donation as well. All right. Well, Matt, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. You are welcome back anytime. I can't wait to do another show with you. Anytime you've got breaking news, if you want to, come on the channel, you are so welcome. Anytime, any day. Please, what would you like to tell the audience as we're closing out the show?
Hey, for the people out there that follow us, thank you guys for your support. I mean, we can't do what we do without all of you guys. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's going to take an army to win this war, and we need everybody that we can get, to get out there and help spread the truth and get the truth out there.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks again for joining us. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for sticking with us tonight. We had almost 3,500 people in here through the whole time of watching the show. Great program, Matt. All the information that you brought was just fantastic. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the scoops. And thank you to everyone for being a patron and a viewer of Red Pill 78. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.